Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Hanapin Marketing's Flash Webinar Series. I'm Zack Schroll, Director of Marketing here at Hanapin. Today, we're fortunate to be joined by a former colleague of mine, Liam Brennan. Today, Liam will be covering what marketers need to know about programmatic buying. Next slide, Liam.
Cool. Yep. Cool.
Liam, so a little bit about him, about Liam. He's currently Global Digital Director over at Mediacom, based out of the UK. If you want to follow him, he can be reached on Twitter at LCBrennan. I'll let Liam tell you a little bit about his role now. Go ahead, Liam.
Cool. Thanks, Zach. So I'm the Global Digital Director at Mediacom in London. I look after mainly the Coca-Cola business across 30 markets. I'm in charge of their digital strategy and some of their big digital initiatives across various parts of the world. But yes, Zach and I used to work together in another role, which was very exciting. I'm very happy to be here today to talk about programmatic advertising with you all.
All right, awesome. Moving on to the next slide here. Just so everyone knows, we will be tweeting during today's presentation. So to join the conversation, just include hashtag ThinkPPC in your tweets, or you can use the webinar question box to send us any questions or comments that you have throughout this presentation here today. All right, so before we get started, we do have a live poll question just to learn a little bit more about our audience here today. So the poll question today is, how do you manage your PPC accounts? A, I'm part of an in-house PPC team. B, I do all the marketing including PPC. C, I work for an agency. Or D, I am a consultant. Liam, how long have you been in the industry?
A little over a decade, but I think I still keep my youthful appearance, so I hope I do.
Yeah, I think I'm about the same, just over 10 years for myself. I've been at Hanapin for just under a year now. Prior to that, Liam kind of touched on it earlier, we worked on the Adidas business. He oversaw the digital strategy globally, and then I ran the US media team, strategy and planning across their business units.
Yeah, so it's from sneakers to soft drinks for me.
All right, we've got results in. So the results, taking the charge here is 54% working at an agency, 17% looks like we're tied, pretty much split in-house and do all marketing, and then 11% consultants. All right, awesome. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Liam, and we'll get this started with programmatic advertising today. Welcome, Liam.
Cool. Well, thank you very much, and welcome everyone to the conference. So today I'm going to cover a topic that I think is one of the most talked about topics right now in digital marketing, but marketing in general. I would love to cover this in much more detail than I will, but I'm going to try and go through this in 20 minutes flat, and hopefully we'll get some good questions at the end of this. So I'll be talking about programmatic buying, but I wanted to put a different spin on programmatic buying than maybe what you read in the trade press. Like I said, I am based in the UK, so I apologize for my slightly different accent, but also I might have a couple of UK stats in here. But the UK is very similar to the States, where I think everyone is on this call. And in the UK, it was becoming the norm for how we buy media. This year in the UK, over half of digital display spend will go through programmatic buys rather than your typical buys. So really for us, it's becoming the norm, and I think that's the case in the States as well. But the weird thing is, it is something that is mainstream, but we're still going back and forth on what is programmatic, what does it mean? Everyone has a differing point of view, and there's still a lot of confusion in the marketplace as to what it actually is, what it does, and how people can benefit. And a lot of that conversation is actually very negative. So I'm hoping to address some of that today. I think a lot of the reason why that's happened is that the conversation around programmatic has often shifted towards the data and technology side of things. And I think that's a very interesting part of programmatic, and certainly that's what differentiates the players in the field. You know, what the capabilities are, and certainly in the agencies that I work at, that's a conversation that's very important for us. But I want to strip it back to basics a little bit today and talk about what actually it is and the difference that it makes to marketeers more so than people working specifically in media agencies. I wanted to kind of backtrack a little bit and talk about programmatic in a very simple sense. I'd like to break it down to two pillars. The first is automation. Now, by definition, programmatic is basically automated buying. If there is anyone on the call who's an expert on programmatic, I'm sure I'll probably get criticized for what I'm about to say, but essentially programmatic is cutting out the middleman. So when you're at a media agency and you're buying media, you're calling up your rep, you want to spend $10,000, $100,000, signing off a form, committing yourself to a certain type of inventory, and you have to spend that with them. But actually, yep. So yes, cutting out the middleman, and essentially that means you can optimize in real time to certain spends of certain publishers, and there's flexibility in pricing. But the other section of programmatic is the data and technology side of things. Now, that's not necessarily part of a
Hey everyone, it sounds like Liam's having a bit of a connection problem. We're going to regroup and fix on that, and we'll be right back to the presentation just in a few minutes.
now. And while the media landscape has changed, that's essentially what we do in the businesses. We take messages and we try to put them to the right people at the right time when they're thinking about certain products in the media spaces that they are consuming media in. But like I said, the media mix has changed a little bit, but it's always been about people. Our job is to understand how people think and how they act, what convinces them to buy certain products, why they won't buy certain products, and how certain types of messaging affect that, what type of media they use, how they use it, when they use it, how they use it in conjunction with their location. So it's getting more and more complicated. And that complication in media is kind of making us rethink about how we plan and buy our media. So at the moment, we plan and buy media by picking titles that are more likely to have a high percentage of a certain audience. So I call this media to reach people. So let's say you wanted to pick target young teenage girls. You might put some ads in MTV. You might put some ads in the mall or in the cinema. But what we're doing now in our new era of kind of automated data-led buying is we're reaching people through media. And by that I mean we're using the data from sites like Facebook, people's mobile phones, their Google logins, to be able to target them on these mass platforms that everyone uses. And the good thing about this is we reduce our wastage with our audience and we're more relevant. So in the same way you'd buy an MTV ad to reach young women, half your audience might be young men. And if you're running a very female-focused product, you're wasting a lot of money. Whereas if you take the data and the information, you can be more precise with your targeting, put the right message in front of someone, and reduce your media wastage. So right person, right place, right time. You've probably all seen Minority Report. I think that is our sort of utopian or dystopian vision of how advertising will work in the future, that through data and automation, we'll be able to give you a personalized message, a one-to-one message, as you go about your media consumption. So kind of bringing the conversation back towards programmatic a bit, this is an example of some work that we've done for Coca-Cola within the UK. Now this is a campaign we ran on 4OD, which is a bit like a Hulu-esque type platform. It's the kind of second biggest commercial channel in the UK. And this was one of the first examples of a mass personalized TV commercial. What we did was we took a standard Coca-Cola commercial, and at the end of the TVC, when the bottle's shown and it rotates around, it would say the name of the individual watching the ad. And the way we did that was we took the data from Channel 4's subscriber base, of which you have to subscribe to watch their content, and we used dynamic video with the data to change the name in real time as they watch the ad. So essentially creating 4 million different TV commercials that were tailored to each individual person in the UK. Incredibly effective campaign, won a few awards, and is one of the best examples of creative data-led automation in the industry. But the thing was that wasn't programmatic. And a lot of people in the UK will go, well, that's programmatic. That's a nice automated ad, and it's not. But it uses many of the principles. If we use programmatic, as well as using that data and tech I showed you before, we could take a concept like that and scale that across the internet. So using the idea of people, talking about targeting people, and using data from first and third-party data sources, we could run a personalized ad across every video property in the UK, ensuring that every individual got an ad that was relevant for them. There'd be no media wastage. There'd be a higher chance of someone clicking through. And that's the power of programmatic advertising, is it allows us to take what would normally be a very static, creative concept, overlay data and information about people, and then process that in an automated fashion to deliver the right person to the right place, the right message to the right person in the right place. So that's kind of programmatic from a kind of top-line data-led perspective in terms of creativity, but there's a lot of advantages beyond just the purely creative. And this is where a lot of conversations start with programmatic, and that's around the buying side of things. So because programmatic's automated, it allows you to target the individual, we can have more control over our media. So if you kind of remember back to what I was saying before about how we would sign off paper IOs and buy titles, we'd waste a lot of media reaching the wrong people. So because we've got programmatic, we can move our inventory around. We're not locked into deals. We can chop and change in the same way you change your bids on your search, bid up on a word, bid down on a word. You can stop and start your campaign as and when you wanted. You wouldn't have to rely on a rep to do that for you. Pricing is adjustable, so it's not fixed. So if you're working to an acquisition target and your CPA is too high, then you can bid down on that media or cancel it, or if it's too low, you can buy more of it. It gives you real-time feedback on how things are performing, and ultimately gives you a chance to test and learn, which by that I mean it's hard to kind of commit a couple of $100, and if it's not working, then you can remove the placement. So in the end for us, it delivers better media value from a trading perspective, as well as a creative perspective. There's a problem with that mentality, though, is that often when these sort of more performance type ways of thinking about things start in media, often they go down a performance route. And that's where a lot of the bad press from programmatic has come from, is that the creative output that sits over programmatic has usually been subpar. It's a lot of these performance ads that target you for days and days and days with offers that you've looked at. Because of the flexibility in pricing, because of that control, you could get the CPA quite low. And the problem is a lot of that space on the inventory is sold on a kind of remnant basis to start with. You'd often get these really horrible ads in front of people. And when you go and talk to a creative director at an ad agency and go, hey, we want to start shifting all our money into programmatic buying, and they're like, I don't want to do that. I want to do more video. I don't want to do these bad banner ads. But the truth is that actually you can buy far more than just display ads on programmatic now, and the quality of inventory is increasing. These numbers are from the big five in Europe, we call them, which is the UK, Germany, Italy, France, and Spain. And it shows the growth of video within the top 5 markets, and specifically the growth of programmatic video. Now, programmatic video is essentially the same as the video you can buy now. YouTube, you can buy in a programmatic fashion. You can buy lots of other pre-rolls programmatically. It's the same inventory, just bought differently. So when you go and talk to a creative agency now, you can say, hey, you know, there's video pre-rolls you like to run your 30-second ads on. Well, we can buy that programmatically, and we can overlay the data and use that automation to be able to target people better and save money on our media. And second to that, one of the other big changes, and I apologize for the quality of the slides, I kind of took this from another webinar, is the growth of premium inventory on programmatic. So programmatic is a kind of umbrella term for all automated inventory, but there's kind of two distinct types, and one is RTB, which tends to be more of the cheaper remnant inventory, whereas programmatic direct is more of your premium websites, so like your New York Times, and your LA Times, and CNN, and so forth and so on. And more sellers are making their inventory available programmatically, and that means that we're getting away from that cheap inventory, the remnant inventory, and we're starting to see more video inventory, more premium display inventory become available to us. And that means that we can buy what we bought before, overlay with that data and automation to ensure that we're still delivering a quality experience to the user and something that's more relevant in the right places. And where we're going moving forward is that everything is becoming available programmatically to us. In the UK, we can now buy a lot of digital out-of-home programmatically, so we can display ads to people on the fly, changing signals like with weather. So if something's raining outside, which is nearly every day here, we can show a relevant ad to do with the weather, or someone is at a certain time of day, show them a relevant offer in a shop. We can buy radio programmatically as well, digital radio broadcast, we can chop and change. And we're now starting to be able to buy TV programmatically. So that idea of the automated data-powered buy is going beyond digital but into the offline channels. And that means we can use that theory of automation across everywhere and start talking about people at mass on scale. Now, the big news in 2015 was that one of the Super Bowl ads was bought programmatically by Mondelez, who own Oreo and Ritz and a few other snack brands. And this was a kind of a watershed moment for us, because it was the first time that people weren't really talking about programmatic as banner ads. It was talking about programmatic as a way to buy media, to overlay data on an automated buy. And they could do this on the Super Bowl, the biggest ad moment there is. So the conversation has started to move away from that remnant inventory again into the premium massive buys that you see on the Super Bowl spots. So to kind of get to the end of my kind of quick whip through programmatic, again, this conversation is about people. It's people because we have the data on people, and through the power of automation, we can reach people with the right message at the right time and place. This tech-focused conversation you probably read a lot about in the press around programmatic is still important and something that we will talk about quite a lot in the future to differentiate us. But in time, programmatic will just be another term that fits under the media umbrella. It's a way of buying media. It's an automated way of buying media that's powered by data. It allows us to be more precise in what we do. So you'll have to have three takeouts from today. The first would be that programmatic buying is the method and not the message. It's we don't buy, or sorry, we do buy on an IO basis, but we've stopped buying purely on that way of calling up a media owner, buying a fixed amount of money. It's going towards that way that you might buy a search campaign, bidding on media, chopping and changing at will, cutting out the middleman. It's not the message, it's not a channel, but it's a way of doing things that allows us to act a bit differently. Programmatic is ushering an era of people-based marketing. So as I showed in that example, where we're moving from reaching people, using media to reach people to reaching people through media, because of the power of programmatic, because of the data, because of the reduction in wastage and our ability to be more relevant, we stop talking about 18 to 34s in magazines and TV and digital. We start talking about individuals and trying to reach them with the right message. And the last thing was programmatic is becoming the norm for digital. In the US and UK, more than 50% of buys are now programmatic in digital. And it's just the start. We're starting to see offline media, as I said, TV, radio, out of home becoming available programmatically. And in new markets as well, they're kind of starting the programmatic conversation at this point rather than at the RTB/remnant inventory point. So already that conversation has matured beyond the US and UK. And that is a very, very quick whip through about programmatic and how we see it at MediaCom. And I'd love to maybe take some questions.
Yeah, Liam, thanks. So we do have one question I've seen roll in so far, that's a pretty good one. It says, can you better explain the Super Bowl TV spots and how they were actually bought programmatically with Mondelez and Oreo?
Yeah, sure. Actually, I'm going to go back 2 slides because there's a link on here as well. So I don't think you can click on a webinar, but if you want to take that address down, you can actually see the ad running. Now, a little bit of explanation. So when you buy a TV ad currently, you call up your TV vendor and say, I want to buy this spot, and then commit some money, and then you'd book it in. The programmatic spot was bought through a company called TubeMogul, which some of you may have heard of. It's a sort of a programmatic video vendor. And essentially what they did is they made, I think it was either a 30 or a 60-second slot available in a couple of regional markets in the States. And they just set it up specifically for Oreo to try the system out, to buy it. It's bought like an auction. It was just like, I want to buy this spot at this time, click the button, press buy. Spot was uploaded digitally and run on TV in that market. So in the same, you know, thinking about it like you buy an AdWords campaign is a nice way to think about what the interfaces are like for these things. And that's essentially what the interface was like for this TV buy. It was just like buying display media or video, except that the broadcast went on television, not on a computer screen.
All right, great. We've got another one here. What are the standard KPIs that you've seen with programmatic buying?
Sure. So we originally were looking at, I think because it started as more of a performance type channel, it was very focused on CPAs and you know, page visits and things like that. What we're starting to see now is that it's just, as it's becoming just media, we're using the same KPIs we use for a wider campaign. So it was an awareness campaign, we'd be looking at, you know, reach of an audience, or if it was a campaign around shifting brand perception, it would be around how long people spend with the content. I think the really interesting thing we've had to do here is to reevaluate the end result. So a lot of people will try and, like the media cost for programmatic often comes at a higher cost than the old way of buying, because you have to layer in costs for the data access, you have to layer in cost for the technology. Sometimes there's extra services needed like DMP access, and on a CPM basis it comes in higher. So what we start to do, we look at how many people we got to the site, or how many quality people. So we might say if we bought an ad, sorry, this is getting technical, if we spent $10,000 on a previous buy and we wasted 30% of that media on people that need to view it, and we bought the same audience for the same result programmatically, we got a 30% improvement in what we were doing. So we've had to very much focus on what's the end result, because again, it's about a better quality person than necessarily just about a click.
All right, awesome. I know you've got an opinion on this. Do you think programmatic can take away agencies' jobs?
Sorry, can you repeat that? Sorry, I lost the audio a bit there.
Do you think programmatic will take away agencies' jobs?
If they're not very good, yes, but otherwise, no. It's the myth. It's a bit of a myth that automation equals robots equals people's jobs being lost. It's actually quite a manual process, which shocks a lot of people. But this is on the agency side I'm talking about here. So on the agency side, you know, you need people to control these buys. You know, it's like stock traders. They need to sit there, buy the media, look at the numbers. I think we always say on the media side of things that it's freeing staff to use their brains. So at the moment, there's a lot of this manual process about signing forms, trafficking ads, reporting manually, but all this stuff is done through a dashboard now. It's all automatic. So you'll have these planners that have now got spare time to actually sit and look at the numbers and analyze them and make decisions faster in real time. Now, on the publisher side of things, that's a very different story. And I know that a lot of jobs have been shifted around at various companies because of this. But really, I think it's a change in skill set in the same way, you know, you'd see it, you know, media constantly shifts. in the same way you see the shift to digital. Digital is now shifting programmatically, and people's jobs are morphing into different jobs.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, right? I mean, it's a lot about the insights and having the time to dive into them and pull those out and delivering them, especially on the agency side to clients. Whereas before, you spent so much time with manually looking at the data, evaluating it. That time's now freed up with the automation. Another question here is, which I can take, is do all service providers of programmatic charge commission for their services? Yes, I think everybody gets paid. I think I saw a really good chart on IAB last year for publishers versus ad tech, where the money goes. It was around 45% goes to those tech fees when you're spending $1, and then 55 actually goes to the publisher. So there is, technology comes definitely with a fee. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Liam.
Yeah, I think this is one of the conversations that kind of kicks off. I think we get these confusing debates back and forth. There always has been a fee on media, and there always will be a fee on media because businesses need to make money. I think what Programmatic's done is it's kind of exposed the margins that people make, and especially on the publisher side of things and the network side of things. So people for a long time were very comfortable handing over their money to ad networks, and they were going and buying media, but then now essentially what Programmatic has done is eaten the lunch of all the different ad networks out there. And you're starting to see the margins that were being made by the ad networks on the publishers. So yes, there are fees, but they're not hidden. I think there's a mystery about people hiding fees, and that's not the case. I think most agencies now, including ourselves, are transparent on the fee that we take, how much the data costs, how much the tech costs, because these systems do cost money, and you've got, when you're buying the media, you're paying a data supplier, you're paying a DSP for access, you're often paying a DMP to license their technology. So it all builds up. But the one thing I do want to kind of reinforce it is that we will only go down a programmatic route if we firmly believe that we can deliver a better solution than going the old IO route. And I think when we're in new markets, especially those where the inventory is still growing, we always do a cost comparison. So I was saying before about the KPIs with the 30% saving, but is the tech cost, because it often costs more, is the extra tech cost going to be worth the end result for the client? And if it's a yes, then we'll do it, and we'll do that cost comparison. If we won't, we'll hold back until we feel we're in a position where we can.
All right, great. I think that's about all we have time for in terms of questions. Moving on to the last and final slide, just want to thank Liam for hosting and talking about programmatic advertising today. If anybody has any additional questions, feel free to reach out to us. We can be reached at marketing@hanapinmarketing.com. And with that, I'd like to thank everyone for joining the webinar.